assented to. It is usually passed to speak to budget items that were in the budget policy statement. Madam Speaker, the mistake number one that we do in this country, we do not publicly discuss the budget items and the appropriations that we are put in the Appropriations Act. And the Budget Committee and the National Assembly have failed us because they did not scrutinize budget policy statement, they did not scrutinize the appropriations bill properly to be able to tell the president some of these things you have put here cannot fly. Madam Speaker, part of those items include the following: confidential budget in DP's office, 800 million. Confidential budget in the president's, in the State House, 1.4 billion. 863 million for hospitality in the Deputy President's office. 400 million for dealing with the drugs, and Nakada will be given some more money. 320 million for innovation in the Deputy President's office. 1.5 billion for innovation of state lodges. Meantime, we have 600 billion only for education. 126 billion only for health. Madam Speaker, I can go on. This is a public document. Please go and look at it. Madam Speaker, what the Gen Zs were telling the president is we must go back to the drawing board. We must reorganize the budget items. We must revisit the Appropriations Act, which you passed. The president assented to the Appropriations Act, Bill number 34, and today we have a circular from the Treasury guiding all accounting officers to rework their budget so that we can raise the 26 billion that we will not be able to raise in taxes, and in order to rework the budget. Madam Speaker, this is my view, that it is the same cabinet secretary who put this bullshit in this budget. So he cannot be the one to be trusted to do this.
Senator Catherine Muma, that is not
I withdraw.
language.
I withdraw.
Withdraw the term bullshit.
Madam Speaker, I think it was agreed we speak with emotion. And I think those items...
Senator Catherine, not with unparliamentary
I withdraw.
language.
I withdraw. I withdraw. Madam Speaker, what I have just read, and I could read more, is despicable as budget items for this country. And that we are trusting the same person who put it and took it to Parliament to be the one to reorganize is lying to Gen Zs. Madam Speaker, what Gen Zs were telling the president, we need a public participation and a participatory approach to reorganize our budget for the financial year 2024-2025 in order to together come up with a saving. I believe if we relook at the budgets at all levels, we will probably save more than the 300 and whatever billion that they wanted to actually raise from the taxes. So the big job that the National Assembly and the Senate should be doing is to do the big job of allowing our experts, whether in civil society, among the Gen Zs, to openly and transparently audit the budget items one by one for the executive, for Parliament, for the judiciary, and put money where it is required. So where we need essential services, we must put money where we need essential services. where we are wasting money, we must remove that money, because what are we doing? We are working on budgeting for corruption. So number one, Madam Speaker, the President said that he will go and borrow for the deficit. I am recommending that we don't allow one more shilling to be borrowed until we put in place a system that can ensure accountability and transparency with debt. So, Madam Speaker, I'm suggesting not borrowing 1 shilling for the 2024-2025 budget. Madam Speaker, number 2, I am recommending that we rationalize the expenditure. We need to find out how much does hospitality for 863 million look like in one office. We need to clearly agree that is budgeted corruption. It must be moved aside. We need to start asking, what is this confidential budget? What does it normally do? And when we are doing the audit, I would want to find out, in the previous year, how much was there for hospitality? In the previous year, how much was there for confidential? What did it do? Madam Speaker, we need to start doing that. As we are reducing expenditure, one of the other things we need to do is to find out, how do we identify duplicated jobs? I have just given one example. We have NACADA dealing with drugs, but you give the Deputy President 400 million to deal with drugs. We have county governments doing county roads, but you have CDF being given money to do county roads. We have national government doing bursaries, but you have the President with bursaries. You have governors giving bursaries, and yet education is a national budget. We will save a lot by looking at duplicated items to save that money and send it to the essential services. As we are doing so, Madam Speaker, we must not reduce the budget to social spending that keeps the dignity of the human beings in this country. Our development strategy must be people-centered. We must provide education. We can only keep increasing our budget in education. We must provide better health. We must keep increasing the budgets in health. We cannot say we are not now going to pay the interns. We are not going to pay the doctors, and yet we have millions for mandazis. It is not acceptable, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we also need to look at the issue of political employments. And I'm suggesting Public Service Commission must be summoned to the Senate to tell us what structures it has set up of a parallel public service that is not provided for in the Constitution or in the law. How many advisors do we have in the presidency? How many do we have around the cabinet secretaries? How many, even the county public service board should tell us how many advisors do we have in counties? That is a parallel, silent public service. As they are telling us, the SRC must join them to tell us how they have cleared payments of salaries to unstatutory and unconstitutional offices. Who is going to be held accountable for that? So those two bodies must tell us what we need to do. We also need to find out, why are employment laws not being followed? Why are constitutional commissions, which are supposed to be independent, not doing this? Why are TSC letters being peddled by politicians? Why is TSC issuing employment letters? TSC has been practicing has been in the practice of employing those who've been waiting before the ones who are qualified recently. Can we have a public audit to find out how many people were politically employed because they know politicians, and those who are waiting and are sons and daughters of poor people were not able to get those issues? Madam Speaker, we need to also audit debt. And I'll go quick. We need to audit our debt and ensure to find out documents and all agreements relating to that need to be made available to Parliament so that Parliament can actually audit this. We also need to audit the debt expenditure. So we borrowed for this. Have we been doing this? And I'm suggesting that we get a special team to be able to do this.